Rick Dollar with Netradiodogs.com, and I have a very special guest this evening, Mr. Tim White. How are you, sir?
Hey, Rick, good to see you.
Thanks for taking the time to sit down and talk to us.
Well, my pleasure, my pleasure.
How's life been treating you lately?
Good. Every day's an adventure.
Exactly. Well, I agree with that, too.
Yep.
Most of the time.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do, actually. So what's been going on with you lately?
Well, I tell people as a joke, which is pretty serious too, picking, painting, and possum farming. Not necessarily in that order.
Not in that order.
Yeah. But of course, I've got into everything that I do because I wanted to play the banjo.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
And I said that right.
Yes, you did.
The banjo.
It's not a banjo.
Yeah.
It's a banjo.
But, you know, I'm very blessed. I thank the good Lord every day for what I get up to do.
Yeah,
I look forward to the day every morning. And I didn't 2 days ago. I went to the dentist.
Well, hey, I'm good with that too. Now, you've got a little thing going on called Song of the Mountains there. And, can you fill me in on maybe what's been going on with that and what the future's going to hold for that as far as you're concerned? And
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, we started Song of the Mountains. Joe Ellis, Sam Russell, Jack Neal, who was at the time with Blue Ridge PBS out of Roanoke, started at the Lincoln Theater in Marion, Virginia, back in 2005. I guess we really started in 2004. And we're in our 11th year now.
That's
great. We're on public television, PBS, all across America on 190 plus PBS outlets.
Wow.
Potential reach, I'm told, of 147 million people.
My gosh.
And it features bluegrass, old-time, Americana, Celtic, gospel, classic country. And it's just been a great, great ride. They recruited me. Joe Ellis told me, and Sam said, you know, and of course I've known Sam Russell for years and years, decades. And they were looking for somebody that could promote shows and book bands that had a network of people. And they said, your name kept coming up. So they basically recruited me to come in and be the executive coordinator and host of the show. And I guess as an added bonus, I can play. And
exactly. So if somebody don't show up, you're there.
It's been, yeah, exactly. And it's been, you know, and I know everybody in the bluegrass genre and old-time genre. It's just been a labor of love. I love what I do.
That's what matters.
First year I worked as a volunteer, and I found out this is not a volunteer job. No. So they ended up raising the money to hire me on as a subcontractor. And that's what I've been doing. Hit a little bump in the road earlier this year.
That happens.
And we got beyond that, and I got back in the saddle there this past September 5th. And we're looking forward to going another 10, 11 years with it at least.
Man, that's good to hear. That is really good to hear. I'm sure that's good. People that watch us in Marion, Virginia are probably really happy to hear that you're on fire.
Well, it's. I hope so. I mean, it's good for the town of Marion, Virginia, the merchants. You know, tourism is an economic driver for any community. Exactly. And Marion, in my opinion, this show has put Marion on the map. It's made Marion famous. It's made a little what would otherwise be a community theater, a famous theater from here to Alaska.
Wow.
With people knowing where Marion, Virginia is, and the beautiful Lincoln Theater, which it is absolutely beautiful. That's
a beautiful place to be. Tony and I went up there earlier this year and shot a couple interviews, and it was incredible. Yeah. I hadn't been there in years, and I just could not believe how much work they'd done. Well, to think that theater a dozen years ago had a 50-foot hole in the roof. It sure did. That's my first memory. I was taken through there by somebody that was in marketing at the time, and the last memory I have of that theater is looking up, and I could see daylight. You could see the sky. And I said, wow, there's a lot of work to be done here. But they got it done. Yeah. I mean, it's I never got to see it in that condition. I've seen photographs of it, but I'm sure if you saw it in person, you thought, this is a lost cause. Oh, I had other thoughts. I was thinking, man, it's going to take a lot of money. Can this get done realistically? And, man, anybody that was a doubting Thomas at that point is not now. No, it's been one. It changed my life. Oh, yeah, I can imagine it did. Song of the Mountains has changed my life. Yeah. It's just phenomenal what's happened with the show. I've been fortunate to be in the position I'm in that I know a lot of people. I've gotten to meet more people by doing the show, but we've had folks on our show on Song of the Mountains like Tom T. Hall, who came out of retirement
to do our show, which I'll be always grateful for Tom and Miss Dixie, the late Miss Dixie.
No doubt.
Actually, I approached Miss Dixie. I knew she'd get time to do it.
She'd get it done.
And we've had, of course, Ralph Stanley, Doyle Lawson, Rhonda Vincent, Riders in the Sky, Jimmy Fortune, and the list goes on and on. I haven't counted lately, but I know we're well beyond 200 groups that's appeared on the show in 11 years.
Goodness gracious. Well, what's it looking like this year? I mean, you're all fired up, and you've had who did you have in your debut show this last month in your tape?
Oh, when I came back.
Yeah, when you came back.
What I did is, like, my good friend Lightning Charlie was on the show. I had looked him back at the first of the year, and when things worked out, I came back on September 5th of 2015. Lightning went out on stage right, hit one chord on his guitar and sang the song "I'm Back in the Saddle Again."
Oh man!
And I walked out as I promised and knelt down and kissed the stage like they do the bricks,
exactly.
And I was just really touched, standing ovation, and it was just wonderful to be back. And we had Jesse McReynolds, good friend from the Grand Ole Opry, and I miss his late brother Jim McReynolds, who passed away a dozen years ago. But it was just good and special to have Jesse, my friend, on there for that show.
I can only imagine what it was like to see him do what he does. I mean, those guys are just legendary in the business, and we've been so blessed to be able to talk to a lot of these guys too. And it's just that's what we look forward to, is the heritage of what we're actually putting out there.
What I really liked about the September 5th show is we had Jesse McReynolds, who just turned, I think, 84. Been on the Grand Ole Opry since 1964, he and his late brother. And then before he came on stage, we had 11-year-old Emmy Sunshine. And so you have both ends of the age spectrum playing. You got Jesse, who's the old school, who's a legend in everybody's mind, because he is. And then you got this little 11-year-old girl that has no idea how good she is.
Man, she does.
Coming on, and it's just a great.
She's just having fun.
And
that's how they started, though. They were just having fun.
Exactly. That's how we all start.
Exactly.
Anybody that ever says we got into bluegrass or old time music to make money's lying.
I can see that,
you get into it because you have a passion for it. You want to make music.
Man, I tell you, that's one of the things that we've started moving into more is I kind of just fell in love with the whole deal. The people are just the best people in the world to work with, and if they tell you something, you can count on it. That's a big difference than
if somebody,
the rest of the world.
I guess my experience with people in bluegrass and old time and Americana music is, if they do come up short, it wasn't on purpose.
No.
If something happens and they can't do it, they will first of all apologize and tell you why. But that's very few and far in between that they don't come through with what they tell you. But it's like anything else. You get sometimes a scam artist or whatever, but they're not around long.
No,
because word gets out really quick.
They figure it out fast. We've interviewed like people like the Church Sisters, people like that, Carl Jackson. These are all people that you've already been exposed to and already know. And so I just wanted you to know what we had been exposed to before. We got really deep into what Netradiodogs is doing. These guys showed us an honest, upfront approach to what they do for a living, and I got a good taste in my mouth, I guess you could say, and it worked out.
Well, our world is with our music is a relatively small world.
It is.
So there's not too much you can do that word done, especially in this day and age with. With Facebook and emails. I mean, somebody does something. I mean, just like the kind of thing that happened this summer with Song of the Mountains, all the support that came my way immediately was amazing.
Right.
So word gets out quick.
It does.
And our group of bluegrass and old-time musicians is a family.
Yeah.
It's an extended family.
And that's a good way to say it. Now, I understand you do a little picking too. Now, you've got a couple of projects that that you go do every once in a while? You want to fill us in on all that?
Well, like where we're sitting right now, this is the Mountain Music Museum. We're at 626 State Street in downtown Bristol. We're on the Tennessee side.
Right.
Every day except Sunday, I'm out here in what we call the fish bowl.
Yeah.
It's a glass front, and we got a glass back on the back of our studio for Tri-Cities Top Gun, and that's Tri-Cities or TopGunRadio.com. TopGunRadio.com. We stream live every day. I'm on 3 to 6 weekdays, 10 to noon Saturday mornings, and the broadcast right out here. And the museum here is the parent organization is a nonprofit 501c3 all volunteer organization called the Appalachian Cultural Music Association. And every Monday night upstairs above the restaurant where you and I just stayed, at the Foundation Event Facility, we have a local show every Monday night from 7 to 9. It's free to the public. It's called the Pickin Porch.
Right.
And you can find out information on Facebook. We have a Facebook Pickin Porch. Leave the G off picking. It's Pickin Porch. And we're revamping our website right now, but our website is pickinporch.org. Okay. So we have local, regional, sometimes national acts on our Pickin Porch. Our museum is open 6 days a week. Open from 1 to 5 in the afternoons. Besides that, of course, we've already talked about Song of the Mountains. I also play music in a bluegrass band. Oh, I forgot to mention, I do a syndicated bluegrass show on about 60 or 70 stations. Yeah. And it's thetimwhitebluegrassshow.com.
There you go.
Put the V in front of it, thetimwhitebluegrassshow.com. But then I play music with the VW boys. Dave Vaught, you said you know Dave.
Yeah, we know them guys.
Fat Albert Blackburn. That's what everybody says.
You threw him in there.
That's what everybody says about Albert. And yours truly, we do music, magic, and comedy.
That sounds good to me.
At least we think it's funny.
Yeah.
But we do, probably half of our show is bluegrass oriented. The other half is Americana. We'll take an old Beatles song or a Pure Prairie League song and turn it into an acoustic song.
Hey, I don't never heard anything bad come from either one of those.
No.
So,
but a lot of times I'll put the banjo down and pick up a second guitar, then we're not a bluegrass band.
Is that what it takes?
Yeah, I guess so. But we're a trio, and we've been told we have great harmony. I think we do.
Well, that's what matters.
We do a lot of corporate work.
That's good.
Because we're not really pigeonholed into that bluegrass genre. A lot of the corporate work we do, they book us for magic and comedy and happen to get bluegrass and Americana, and we turn people on to it that normally wouldn't go to a bluegrass show. You know, they come up and say, you know, we didn't think we liked bluegrass, but we do, because they never gave it a chance.
That's right. Now, that's one thing that Tony and I have noticed. We did show up to Lincoln Theater with Ralph Stanley, and we just noticed the first few people that came in were 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids.
Good to see.
And then we saw the older crowd came in. But, you know, there's just such a rotation of what's happening.
Yeah.
It's all working in a circle, a perfect circle the way it should. And we're just glad to see a lot of younger people starting up bluegrass bands.
Well, one of the things that we do here with the ACMA, our museum and our Pickin Porch, we work hand in hand with two other major, well, actually three if you count Song of the Mountains, and we should. But we also work close with Rita Forrester and the folks at the Carter Family Fold in Hilton's, Virginia. And they have a lot of young people coming over there from colleges, especially during college time.
Exactly.
And we work very close with Dan Boner and Roy Andrade over at East Tennessee State University with their bluegrass, their 4-year accreditation now of bluegrass, old time, classic country, even they do Scotch-Irish music over there.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So we work very close with those folks. So there's a lot going on in this region.
There is a bunch.
Somebody told me, they said we had an aunt and uncle that went down to Nashville, and I'm not throwing daggers, don't get me wrong. Said they went down to Nashville and came back and said they'll never go back because that ain't the kind of music they wanted. And I said the kind of music they want is right here.
Is at home.
It's right here. Now Nashville's got a genre of music that attracts certain people. Branson, Missouri does. Other places, but you know, if you want the real deal, you come to Bristol.
That's all you got to do. I mean, I grew up listening to my dad, my uncles, all sitting out on the porch playing guitar at night after a hard day's work, and my brother does the same thing, and it's all just where it needs to be. Well, it's like I don't really know how to explain it. It's just where we need to be at this point.
Well, it's the real deal.
It is.
I mean, people make a pilgrimage. We don't have real big crowds at our Pickin Porch on Monday night. Sometimes we do. Mm-hmm. Like the ETSU bands came over a couple of weeks ago, had good crowds.
Right.
But sometimes we don't have such big crowds. And this past Monday, we probably had 60 people.
Yeah.
But it's free admission. We pass the buckets and ask for donations. And I always ask anybody here from somewhere else. And we had a fellow on the front row raise his hand. His name was John. I can't remember John's last name because I used a lot of grease on my hair and my mind slipped.
Slides right out.
Yeah. But anyway, his name was John, sat on the front row, and I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "London, England."
That's great.
And he came over, and he's been taking in all the events over the past week or two. And then I saw a couple in the back of the room had their hand up. I said, "Where are you folks from?" They said, "London, England."
Amazing.
So we get that all the time. People make a pilgrimage to come to see Song of the Mountains. I can't tell you the amount of times that we've had people come up to me and say, "Hey, this is my mom and dad. They're in their 80s, and this is their wedding anniversary, and for that they wanted to come to see Song of the Mountains."
It's amazing. Yeah.
Or, this is my great aunt's birthday. She wanted to see Song of the Mountains. We get that here at the museum. And across the way on the Virginia side, there's a Birthplace of Country Music museum over there. They get the same thing.
It is. It's just crazy.
But it shows you how powerful this is, and our natural resource, one of our major natural resources in this region, Southwest Virginia, East Tennessee, and Western North Carolina, is our music. They don't make it in China.
I agree. Tony and I first started doing what we were doing, and we were drawn toward this type of music because we both kind of liked it a little bit, so that kind of helped things. But we're in 24 countries now. People are watching us in 24 countries.
That's great.
And the thing is, it's countries that you would not think would be so interested in what we've got right here.
People are shocked that don't know, but I appreciate what you guys are doing.
We're just doing what we think we need to do. Well, I really feel like it's the job that we're supposed to be doing.
Well, I think it is, and I appreciate you being interested in
what
we're doing right here in Bristol and up in Marion, Virginia.
Why you don't have to travel to Texas or like you're saying, not throw daggers anywhere, but you don't have to travel all over the world when you have such a great amount of history and music being made in this area.
Well, back when I co-founded the Birthplace of Country Music Alliance in '94, and even predating that when I was picking music, and when we opened our first museum, which was this one out at the Bristol Mall in '98.
I remember that.
What we found out was we had to educate our own.
Right.
There were so many people right here in this region that had no idea about the Carter family.
That's right.
Stonemans, Jimmy Rogers, Farming Fun Time with Lester and Earl, and Stanley Brothers, and Curly King, and all of those people. And once they started realizing what they had, and it took 25 years.
I know.
And one of the things that I'll touch on, we just recently celebrated the 30th anniversary of the big mural that I painted. I'm a sign painter.
Yeah, I remember when I was a little boy when you did that.
Now you're making me feel old.
Sorry. We're all getting up there.
You're a grown man now.
Yeah, that's it. That's what my dad tells me. You're grown now, aren't you?
Go ahead and finish that story.
Yeah,
I want to hear this.
But I do remember that when I was a kid driving by, or being in the car with my dad, he was driving by, and I was like, wow, somebody's painting on that wall over there. And Dad went into his story, about...
So he knew.
He knew, because he lived here most of his life too. And so this town is so full of really good things. And I feel kind of sad sometimes because it took so long for this to come out. But, like I was saying, maybe it's just the right time.
Well, what saddens me, I'm happy about everything we've been able to accomplish. My mother died in 1993. She did get to see the mural I painted.
Oh, that's good.
And she did get to hear me play music and things, but there's so much happened since 1993 that that I wish she could have seen. And my wife Penny says she's got to see.
Oh yeah, she's watching.
Yeah. So anyway, there's so many people: Leon Kaiser, Matt King, and you may not know those names, and that's okay. But these guys carried the torch long before I started carrying it.
Right. And
the people that are carrying it today. And that's one of the things I like about our museum here. You can find those people in this museum.
They're everywhere.
Our museum isn't all just Lester and Earl and Tennessee Ernie Ford and Dave Loggins and Kenny Chesney. There's a lot of unsung heroes here that were, if they hadn't done what they did, the music would have died.
That's right.
But not everybody can be famous.
And my mom used to tell me all the time, God rest her soul, I went to high school with Dave Loggins. Mm-hmm. He's a songwriter. I said, well, did you ever date him?
Yeah. David Loggins is somewhere, right?
Yeah, he's here.
Right there.
But I would recommend highly coming by and checking out this museum because there's stuff in here that you're not going to see anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I mean it.
Website's mountainmusicmuseum.org. And if you're in Bristol, we're at 626 State Street, right in the heart of downtown next to the Foundation Event Facility. And one thing I'd like to say, I want to thank James Bryant of Bryant Label Company, who helped us initially start this museum when it was at the Bristol Mall.
Right.
James is getting ready to turn 79 this year, so a couple of years ago he passed the torch on to a younger fellow who owns this building and has given us a home. His name is Alan Hurley. And Alan, thank you for what you've done for us with giving us a home here, and he lets us use the wonderful Foundation Event Facility for our Pickin Porch. And it takes people like that to make this happen. Like I said, this is done by all volunteers, and it's phenomenal what we have here. For example, all the shadow boxing and framing is done by Glamour Galleries in Bristol, absolutely free.
No kid.
We have a computer program that Carol Thompson, Susie Goble, Dolores Anschutz, and a couple more ladies, they catalog every one of these items. It's in a database. We know if it's a gift, we know if it's on loan, we know the value, and that's very important.
Yes,
this stuff, you just don't put it, I mean the cases, for example.
Yeah, they're very expensive.
Donated by Kaiser Supply.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Everybody pulls their own weight, even up at the Lincoln Theater. God bless them, the ushers.
Mm-hmm.
They come in there.
We love those guys.
Yeah, and they volunteer their time.
They got some stories now.
They do, yeah. But if it weren't for the volunteers, I don't care where you go, whether you're playing this music or doing a museum, what have you, if it weren't for people volunteering their time, it would not happen.
Wouldn't do us any good.
No.
Wouldn't do me and you any good sitting here.
Right. Exactly.
That's it.
I appreciate everybody.
Well, tell you what, we've had a good talk with you, man. Hopefully we can talk to you in the future, too.
Well, I hope so. Thank you for your interest. Appreciate y'all being here, and come back soon.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, Rick Dollar for Netradiodogs.com. I'm with Mr. Tim White.